Ending off the prelims, man, could this be a more exciting fight? I mean, if you're a big fan of those like high flying strikers and versus those calm, poised, zen type fighters, I think this is one of those ones that's going to be really exciting. Now, the thing about Bill Algeo is, the Brendan Lafayette fight. I mean, I feel like that was one where he kind of lost a little bit of credibility, but he came back strong after, you know, Ricardo Lamas, for that to be a UFC debut is pretty massive. And I think that he did what he could in that one. He definitely lost it. I think he takes a lot of damage. I think that's one thing about Algeo that's really interesting is that he's a fighter that takes damage, but he shows poise. He shows his ability to, pick his shots. He's really good everywhere. And I think he showed that mostly in the Spike Carlisle fight, right? When you saw them take it to the ground, I think he was able to roll very well. I think he was able to transition pretty much in any position where I felt like he had the opportunity. I think he was calm, he was cool, he was collected. And then even in that bulldog choke, I felt like he was able to escape from the back pretty cleanly, just took his time and waited for his moment. And that aspect of fighting, I feel like, is the hardest thing to come by. It's what really separates some of the guys that can get themselves out of really deep water, right? And that's what makes you enjoy Bill Algeo. Now, if he could keep his hands up just a little bit more and avoid some of those big shots from, his opponent, I think that would keep him in the fight a lot more, especially on, points and things like that. And, with Ricardo Ramos, like the thing that I really love about him is there was such a high trajectory, right? I felt like the UFC really expected him to be so good. But, when you meet technical strikers like Lerone Murphy, I think that really kind of humbles you in a way, right? You think about the way he approached the fight. The guy that just loves to go for broke in the first round. Think about the streak, right? Five straight wins in Legacy. This is what put him on the map. 4 of those 5 wins were first round finishes. Then he meets Manny Vasquez and loses his streak there. So that's the first loss of his career. But he comes back strong and he pretty much gets his opportunity in the UFC. And I think that he just ran with it with flying colors. The way he started off, having a 5-2 record at his age, I think is absolutely phenomenal. And, when we talk about his losses, guys like Lerone Murphy are very humbling experiences where I think it kind of teaches him to be a little bit more patient and a little bit more disciplined with his striking and to pick his opportunities because, if he was able to maybe get it to a later part of the fight and maybe get it to the ground, I just think that was an opportunity for him to really learn a lot. And I don't want to be too hard on him with that one, but he's in the Bill Algeo fight. I think that he's going to have an opportunity now to take on someone who's not going to be so aggressive, might not be so technically sound in that striking department, because I think that Lerone Murphy showed that he was on a pretty high level with that skill. But I think Bill Algeo is a very good all-around fighter, which makes this such an amazing fight, right? I think that both guys show that capability of taking the fight anywhere. They both have different types of energy when it comes to that early part of the fight. I feel like Bill Algeo's ready to push the fight forward, but he's not going to throw a huge amount of volume. He's not going to be going for anything crazy flying. I think that he's going to be technical about it. He's going to be sound and calm, that kind of aspect to it. But Ricardo Ramos can be a bit of a wild man, right? And I think that in terms of your experiences against guys like Lafayette and Ricardo Lamas, I think that all kind of culminates into the wins like Spike Carlisle. And now he's getting a guy who the UFC were really high on for so long, especially back over in like 2020. I think that the fights that he was taking was very much so to showcase just how exciting he was. And, I think that this is going to come down to just being a technical battle, right? I think that Bill Algeo's ability to switch a lot is going to really help him. And if he can switch and use the kicks and not really get having to deal with some of Ricardo Ramos's power shots, I think that's going to be the easiest thing. Because I just think that when you consider the Lerone Murphy and the, Said Nurmagomedov fights, I think that's the aspect of him just, learning and being, humble just a little bit from a technical perspective. And this is going to be one of those fights where maybe it's not the Saids and the Lerone Murphys of the world, but I think Bill Algeo is a well-rounded fighter. And that's going to be a problem for him. He's not able to kind of find those, confidence boosts when he does with his striking. I think that that's where Ricardo Ramos, if he's not able to kind of get those big opportunities in early in the fight, he doesn't seem to have a really good chin. I think that there's opportunities for Bill Algeo to kind of frustrate him, to push him into indisciplined positions and look for a finish early. I think that that's going to be some confidence boosters for Bill Algeo as well, because when you look at his record, you can kind of tell by type that he does like to push forward. He does like to get irresponsible sometimes. And if Ramos is, using his fight camp to improve on those things, that would probably be the best thing for his game, because I think from a well-rounded perspective, especially for where he's at in his UFC career, from a tier and who he's going to have to fight, everything's going to be a challenge right now. But, in terms of weaknesses and areas that we can kind of see that he needs to work on, that's a perfect example. So right now, looking at this fight, I think Algeo brings this cool, calm, collected energy versus Ramos's, high flying, looking for a finish type energy, but while also having a bit more loose ends kind of in that first round. Such a close fight, especially if Algeo doesn't keep those hands up. So I'm going to say it's a pretty close fight based on the odds, and coming to look at it without question, right? So Ramos opened as a plus 100 dog, with Algeo coming in at minus 120, and now they're pretty much in and around a similar area, right? Algeo's not really moving up past that minus 125, and Ricardo Ramos is, on average already in that minus area. So for me, pretty much a pick'em fight. I do think that this is going to be a tough one to call. I like Algeo in this fight only because I think that the technical striking of somebody in this type of scenario where it's a little tougher to knock them out, I think that helps. I think when you look at his record, the last time he got finished, 2014, by none other than Shane Burgos. Now, for me, speaks volumes, right? Shane Burgos is a wonderful striker. And now when you go look at the tape for, our boy Algeo, I really do believe that that's speaking volumes of how he's shown up since then, especially as a striker and not getting finished on the feet. So can't wait for the prelims to end on that one. I think it's going to be an absolute fire prelim card, especially with some of the early fights, especially if it goes 3 rounds. These guys are all athletic. It's maybe not the Barnett and Rothwell fight, but, with that said, we're kind of rolling